All right, this shirt is apt. I have recorded another video today where I was very happy. In this one, I'm going to be pretty sad or angry. I don't know. Not happy. Don't let this smile fool you. But we're going to talk about The Testaments by Margaret Atwood and why I had a really bad time with it. Why it upset me, essentially. Like, I want to start off by saying objectively not a horrendous book. If you like this book, that's fine. I could see why you liked this book, especially if you went in with different expectations or if you have a different relationship with the source material than I do. Full disclosure, I watched the show first. I haven't watched season 3, and I read Handmaid's Tale in January. I liked Handmaid's Tale. I have it tabbed up somewhere, not next to me, so you don't get that visual. But I do like Handmaid's Tale, and I do like this show. So my brain, dumb me, seeing this on Goodreads #1, seeing this winning the Booker Award, which if you don't know, the Booker Award is like one of the most prestigious literary awards you can get for a book. I was like, great, this is going to be another really interesting take on Gilead. I'm curious to see what she structurally chooses to do with this one. How is she going to expand the world? Are we continuing from Offred's perspective? What are we doing here? I didn't put a lot of research into picking up this book. I just knew I liked the first one, I liked the show, and I was curious. And obviously it was pretty popular, so there you go. I went into it excited to see it expanded, and I was unfortunately very, very, very disappointed. My biggest issue with the book is, why is this book? Why was this book written? I don't really know. It's like 30 years after the release of the first one. It came out after the show. It was partially inspired by the show. The character of Aunt Lydia in the show inspires the character of Aunt Lydia in this book. Oh, also, I'm going to be spoiling this book a lot. Okay? This book is the continuation of Gilead. It's about the fall of Gilead. You follow 3 perspectives. Aunt Lydia, Agnes, who is the daughter of June in the show, maybe June in the first book, unclear, and Nicole, who is a character in the show. Okay, you follow these 3 perspectives, and you follow the fall of Gilead. That's it. It's actually a dreadfully boring book. So yeah, that's the gist. I didn't like it. 2 stars. I don't necessarily recommend it. I mean, it's obviously not bad, but I don't know. But now I am going to continue my rant. There will be spoilers. You have been warned, and chances are I warned you in the title of this video too. So, yeah. Why was this written? I don't know. She says it's for the fans. She said it's because people wanted to see how Gilead fell. She said she was inspired by the character of Aunt Lydia. I am not against an author creating a work to make money and to connect with their fans. That's fine. That is valid. Make money off your art. Get paid. I'm all here for it. But my problem is when I read works by an author, especially in a series, I have read your first book, and a bar has been set. You know, there's certain things there. There's a certain level of quality you've given me in that first book that I expect to continue into the second book. Maybe not in other books and other series, whatever. I'm not expecting you to be the same person in all your stuff, but a certain level of quality is expected. And I got annoyed with this with a series we can't talk about because of She Who Must Not Be Named. I think the tone and the writing style of the first 4 books is way better than the last 3 books of that series. And I think she writing styles-wise, dumbed it down. I know that's weird because everyone says it grows up, but to me it doesn't read that way. It reads simpler, it reads less cogent, etc. But this isn't a rant about that. But that is a thing that's bothered me like forever. And that's what happened here. The first book is intense, awesome, literary fiction. It's amazing. You get this character study of this woman who never gets to talk, who used to be a free thinker, who is now trapped in this society where she's just basically a human there to make other humans. It's dreadful. And her thoughts are just insane. It's not an easy read, but I was tabbing everything because all of these thoughts and sentences were so interesting to me. When I saw The Testaments won the Booker Award, I expected a similar level of quality. It's not. Now, I also like YA dystopians. I like The Hunger Games. I like the first 2 books in the Divergent series. I like Scythe. I like futuristic stories. I like them when they're YA. I did not expect that to be this story. This reads like a YA dystopian, and I'm not the only one who said it. I've seen many reviews online when I was searching while I was putting this together that say that, so I'm not crazy. Especially for 2 of the perspectives, it does not read very differently than those series. And I'm not saying it as a knock for those series, but no one would say that The Hunger Games should win the Booker Award. Like, no one's saying that. Because it is... Literary fiction awards for the Booker is supposed to mean it's supposed to be innovative, it's supposed to be structurally unique, it's supposed to be this highlight of the art. You're pushing the art. And Hunger Games has, and this book and other dystopians have interesting ideas, but they're not pushing the art, right? And so I think that's my issue. I had this expectation, and it was not met, and it was weird. It was really weird and jarring, but fine. I get past that. I accept, okay, this is just a popular book, fan service, let's go. I set that aside, right? I'm like a little annoyed by it, but it's its own book. I've read books like this. I've enjoyed those books, whatever. And then the plot and the characters are just not good. They're just not. Oh, gosh. Like I said briefly, the show inspired this book, which is weird. I don't quite think I've ever had a book inspire a show which inspired another book. I've had books inspire shows and shows finishing books because the book's not finished yet, like finishing off the series. We've all had that. We all had a great time with that, right? Yeah. But I haven't quite had this series of events, and I don't like it because I question the continuity. I question the world building a little bit. The character of Aunt Lydia specifically is the strongest pull from the show. And I don't like that her career changes. It makes me feel like the path she's taken in this book is not going to be the path she takes in the show, which means that the show and the book will have diverged, and that's just really hard for my brain. I purposely try not to read books based off TV shows because I hate continuity errors. It's just a weird thing with me, and I try to think of them as separate things, but it's weird. And also, like I said, Nicole is a character introduced in the show. Everything else, like Aunt Lydia's in the first book, Agnes is arguably maybe in the first book, but Nicole's not. So I didn't like that. And I didn't... This world is really hard to move in, period. Especially if you're a woman, everyone has their eyes on you. And the fact that both daughters of June can cross paths and cause the end of Gilead through the help of Aunt Lydia. I'm sorry, I'm not here for that plot. I'm not here for that plot. And the way they stop it is by releasing all of the bad things the men in this society has done. Hello, it's 2020. This book came out in 2019, so presumably written in 2017 or 2018. I don't know, or you were editing it then. You know that it doesn't matter how many times you say out loud, these men are bad, look at what they've done. They still stay in power. This ending makes no sense to me. I'm supposed to believe that because this cache of knowledge has made it to Canada, that suddenly Gilead will fall? So I didn't like that. I didn't like the plot at all. And I don't have feelings for any of the characters, at all. I mean, I almost feel something for Aunt Lydia, but I kept getting distracted by the fact that she wasn't the same Aunt Lydia as in the show, or I really can't... the show was making a backstory for Aunt Lydia that is very different from the backstory I have here, and I liked the show's one better. Yeah. What else do I have here? Yep. Oh, and the plot was very boring. I said that, right? It's very flat. It's very meh. And you'd think there'd be a little meh, but there's really not. It's pretty boring. There's really no tension for me in this book, at all. I never once thought that they wouldn't make it. I don't know. It's just so boring. It was so boring. It was so long and so boring, so flat. Ugh. I wanted to give it 3 stars, but I was so bored and annoyed I had to give it 2. I just had to. And I think one of the last things I'll say about the book on its own is if she was inspired by the show, one thing the show I thought did well that was at least refreshing to me is it was more inclusive in its representation. You had characters who were black and brown as part of the main cast. It was a part of it. Like, Agnes in the book should be mixed race. I don't know if she is, because Margaret did the thing where she just doesn't describe her characters. Or if she does, I don't know. So I just didn't like that if she was inspired by the show, she had all of these characters, why didn't she bring that inclusivity into the book? I don't know. And the last thing I want to talk about is the actual fiasco, in my opinion, of this Booker Award thing, because I never did much research into it, because literary fiction is not my forte. I am the first to admit it's not the thing I pick up. But I know when it's good, and I know when it's bad, and this is not. If I'm saying this is not a good piece of literary fiction for at least the Booker Award, it should have been obvious to all the judges. And I think the worst part that I have to bring up, because I found out and I was very angry, is that this would have been the first year that a black woman had won this award. And she had to share it with this book. Like, what? This book. Like, maybe, people were like, well, maybe it's because they never gave Handmaid's Tale the award, so they're, like, trying to back. It's like, that's not how this award works. This isn't Leonardo DiCaprio getting mauled by a bear and he finally gets his Oscars. That's not how this works. This is a good book for a YA dystopian or commercial fiction. It's a good book for the fans who don't care about show crossover in their books, who like this plot. I did not like this plot. I didn't find it believable. I thought it took away all the gravitas of the first book. Didn't like it. I think that's very clear. But there are people who will like this book, and that's fine. I don't know why it won the Booker, and it makes me so angry. Because there are so many books that I know people turn their nose up to because of the prose style being too simple and direct. An example was we read Kindred for my book club, and one of the readers who's always picking our literary fiction recommendations gave that book a 2-star because the writing was too simple, or I don't know her exact phrasing. If you've read Kindred, you did not put that book down. That book accomplished every goal it had. That book is amazing. Now, do I think that book maybe should be brought forward for the Bookered? No. That book is better written than this book, and they have the same type of prose. So, the hypocrisy, the almost, I felt like it was almost a money grab because the Bookered lost sponsors and they needed people to come in. I could be wrong. Really not an expert on it. But I'm mad about it. And I'm a little mad that I spent 10 hours, 9 hours, I don't know, reading this book because I wasn't satisfied. I'm just going to watch the show. Like, if I wanted... The show does a way better job at world building than this book did, which is shocking to me because on average, books have more words. You can do more things. So that's the rant. I am sorry if you really liked it. I'm not saying it's a bad piece of literature. I just went into it with an expectation. And I think that framed my experience with this book. So this is not me telling you it's the worst book ever written. It's not a 1-star. This isn't me telling you you shouldn't pick it up or you shouldn't support it. This is just me saying I didn't have a good time. Like, at all. So I guess if you've made it this far... I don't know, put something red down below. Yeah. And, like, if you liked it. I guess dislike if you didn't like it, because I know I'm saying things that would hurt people's feelings, but I don't really know how that affects the algorithm, so do that sparingly. And subscribe if you want to. I promise I don't rant often. The last one I did was, like, in January. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.